Midway through the 2012 season, former first overall pick Alex Smith, a player once considered a bust, was having his best season of his career to that point, which followed up a turnaround 2011 season that saw him and new head coach Jim Harbaugh lead the 49ers to the NFC Championship game. In a November game against the St. Louis Rams, Smith rolled out to the left, got hit hard, and suffered a concussion. Into the game came 2011 second-round draft pick Colin Kaepernick, and his great athletic skill set impressed many people. One of those people was Jim Harbaugh. After a great second start against the Saints, with Smith still inactive, the coach decided to make Kaepernick the full-time starter through the rest of the season. The Niners went on to make the Super Bowl and nearly pull off one of the greatest comebacks of all time in that game to the Ravens, but came up just short. 49ers management knew they could not keep both quarterbacks in the same room to start the next year, so they decided to trade Smith to the Chiefs and keep Kaepernick, thus changing the path of the two franchises. So I'm here to ask, what if Alex Smith never did get injured? Well, let's dive in. Before we begin, I want to remind you guys to hit the subscribe button. It helps us out a ton. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. Recently, just eclipsed 250, and we thank each and every one of you. We're so appreciative, and we mean that. And also, just a disclaimer here. This video isn't going to involve Kaepernick supposedly getting blackballed from the league and everything surrounding him kneeling for the national anthem. It will simply be about how the NFL as a whole is impacted by this. You guys can have whatever thoughts on him that you want, but this video is strictly about the game of football. Alright, well now let's actually start. With Smith as quarterback, the Niners would finish the season 12-3-1 and still have the 2 seed in the NFC. However, this is where I'll put a bit of a spin on this. Instead of Kaepernick having a career day against the Packers in the divisional round where he broke records running the ball, Smith just isn't able to replicate that success. The Packers squeeze out a win and move on to the NFC Championship game. The Packers do what they do best and lose the NFC Championship to the Atlanta Falcons. This sets up a Super Bowl 47 matchup that is just fantastic, where the headline is two legends hoping to get rings and then retire, that being Tony Gonzalez and Ray Lewis. Super Bowl 47 becomes the Battle of the Birds, Ravens vs. Falcons. The Falcons' explosive offense is a worse matchup for the Ravens than the Niners, and they pull out the win. Tony Gonzalez gets his ring and rides off into the sunset. In the 2013 offseason, the Chiefs are absolutely royally screwed. Out of desperation, they sign an aging Matt Hasselbeck to come in and be a bridge quarterback, like he was with the Titans a few years prior. When he was a rookie, Andy Reid was his quarterback coach and was the third string behind offensive coordinator Doug Peterson, so this makes a ton of sense. That bridge will not come this year, as Andy Reid and John Dorsey are smart enough to not take any quarterbacks in this just awful quarterback class. Other than that, not much changes in that offseason, so on to the 2013 regular season. The biggest change is that the 49ers pick up a crucial win against the Saints and move into first place in both the NFC West and the NFC as a whole. This means the Seahawks slide down to the 5 seed, even at 13-3. In the AFC, with Hasselbeck at quarterback, the Chiefs add losses to the Texans, the Titans, Browns, Cowboys to fall to 7-9. This puts the Titans into the playoffs as the 6th seed with an 8-8 record in tiebreakers, with of course Ryan Fitzpatrick as quarterback after Jake Locker got hurt. Wild. In terms of the AFC playoffs, not much changes in actual output, but the Titans being in allows the Bengals to finally get that playoff win before losing to the Patriots, and the Colts beating the Chargers before losing to the Broncos. The Broncos will remain AFC champs. In the NFC, the 49ers beat the Saints in the divisional round, and the Seahawks beat the Packers, and then the Panthers, setting up the same matchup as in real life. Seahawks versus 49ers. One gigantic difference though, this time the 49ers are at home, in the final game ever at Candlestick Park, and away from the 12th man. Although it seems controversial to say this is enough to get the 49ers over the hump and reach the Super Bowl. This sets up Super Bowl 48, 49ers vs. Broncos, Alex Smith vs. Peyton Manning. In a lower scoring game, the Niners defense does enough replication of the Seahawks to pull away and win. Alex Smith, the good but not great quarterback, is now the face of the Super Bowl champions. With teams getting extra wins and extra losses in the regular season, the draft order will change slightly. There were a few changes in the 2014 draft, including the Bucs now taking Sammy Watkins, allowing for Mike Evans to fall to the Bills. The Dolphins will now land Taylor Lewan, and the Titans will have to take Jawan James. More importantly, the Chiefs now have to take a quarterback, and we feel comfortable enough that Andy Reid and John Dorsey don't screw it up and take Johnny Football, and instead they select Teddy Bridgewater. Thus, the Vikings are forced to take Derek Carr, and the Raiders don't draft a quarterback. Johnny Football still remains a Brown. For the 2014 season, there are just a few in-season changes. The Raiders lose 2 more games to Chiefs and Bills and finish 1-15 without Derek Carr, their only win coming against the 49ers. The Chiefs, as mentioned previously, pick up a win against the Raiders, but they're also going to lose to the Seahawks and the Chargers. The Chargers will get this extra win against the Chiefs, and they'll go 10-6, and they're going to be the 6th seed. The 2014-15 playoffs will look a little something like this. In the wild card, the Chargers will knock off the Steelers, and the Colts will knock off the Bengals. As for the divisional round, the Patriots will beat the Chargers, and the Colts will beat the Broncos. The conference round remains the same, and just like in real life, the Patriots beat the Colts with a lot of controversy, that being Deflategate. The whole NFC stays the same, and the Super Bowl will also stay the same. Sorry, Seattle, but unfortunately, Malcolm Butler still does exist in this alternate universe. Enter the 2015 NFL Draft, teams that desperately need a QB, but only 2 quarterbacks to choose from. The first pick is held by the Oakland Raiders, who select Jameis Winston. The Bucs follow them, and they're going to grab Marcus Mariota. Out of desperation, the Titans trade a 3rd-round pick to the Bills for a quarterback the Bills had given up on, in E.J. Manuel, in an attempt to revitalize his career. Tennessee is also freed up now to grab Amari Cooper, and the Ravens will draft Melvin Gordon, while the Chargers are stuck with Brashad Perryman. That's it for draft changes, but just a side note, the 49ers would re-sign backup quarterback Colin Kaepernick to a 3-year, $3 million deal after the season. It is important to note that Jim Harbaugh got his long-sought extension after winning the Super Bowl and will remain the head coach. Just a fun little nugget here, Michigan for some reason decides to hire Mark Trestman for his offense. He is so bad that he is fired after 1 season, and they eventually hire Chip Kelly when he becomes available the following year. Entering the 2015 season, the 49ers still start off 2-5 before John Harbaugh, in desperation move, pulls Smith for Kaepernick, who has still seen very little action up to this point. Kaepernick puts up a hard fight but loses his first game and breaks out with his running in a win the following week. They stun the Cardinals and beat the Browns to finish at 7-9, but they'll play much more impressively than in real life. Despite Harbaugh's increasingly tenacious relationship with management, this is enough to keep him around for at least another year. For other changes in the NFC, the Cardinals lose to the 49ers and Vikings to go 11-5 and are the 3 seed. The Vikings are now 12-4 and they'll be the 2 seed. In the AFC, the Titans with E.J. Manuel lose to the Jaguars and go 2-14. This puts the Jaguars at 6-10. The Jameis Winston-led Raiders lost to the Chargers twice and Broncos. They'll finish the year 4-12. The AFC playoffs stay the same, but in the NFC playoffs, the Cardinals beat the Seahawks and Green Bay beats Washington in the wildcard round. In the following round, the Vikings will knock off the Cardinals in a freezing cold playoff game that plays a big part. As for the rest of the playoffs, the Panthers beat the Packers and then beat the Vikings. The Broncos will still beat the Panthers in the Super Bowl. To kick things off in the 2016 offseason, Alex Smith requested a trade and got traded to the defending champion Denver Broncos for a 2nd and a 3rd round pick. And in return, the Niners would eat some of the contract. The Broncos are desperate for a quarterback following Peyton Manning's retirement, and Alex Smith is simply a great fit. Now let's get into the 2016 NFL Draft. The Titans, who by this point desperately need a quarterback as the E.J. Manuel experiment failed, they'll have no choice but to take Jared Goff. Philadelphia will still trade up for Wentz. Now at 4, the Raiders will take Jalen Ramsey, and the Ravens will take Joey Bosa at 5, followed by DeForest Buckner to the Dolphins at 6. Ronnie Stanley goes to the Jags at 7. The Giants will luck out of Eli Apple, who will get selected by the Saints, and as a result, they're able to snag Jack Conklin at 9. The Niners take Sheldon Rankins, and the Lions pick Laramie Tunsil. This one is especially interesting, given what the Dolphins have received ever since trading Tunsil. That will make things very fascinating down the road. The Chargers will later take Taylor Decker, and after Tunsil falls to the Lions. At 13, the Rams still need a quarterback, so they're going to take Paxton Lynch. In later rounds, Derrick Henry goes to the Chargers, Hunter Henry goes to the Raiders, and Justin Simmons to the Lions. There was a lot of changes there, so I hope you're able to keep up. If not, feel free to rewind. In the 2016 season, the Vikings, led by Derek Carr, instead of Teddy Bridgewater, sweep the Lions, pick up wins versus Dallas and Washington, and they'll go 12-4 and snag the number 1 seed in the NFC. The Bucs are with Mariota at quarterback, and they're without a Pro Bowl season from Mike Evans. Well, in Tampa that is. Watkins still needs surgery on his foot and gets placed on IR after Week 8. They lose to the Chiefs and they'll finish 8-8. The Titans, now with rookie quarterback Jared Goff, lose to the Lions, Broncos, Chiefs, and Dolphins. They'll finish the year 5-11. The Bills, now with Mike Evans, pick up a win versus the Raiders, and they'll finish the year 8-8. Jameis Winston and the Raiders lose to the Bills, Saints, and Broncos. They're now 9-7. The Broncos, with Alex Smith, will defeat the Raiders and defeat the Titans, and they'll finish the year 11-5. Teddy Bridgewater, in his new home of Kansas City, wills the Chiefs to extra wins against the Titans and Bucs, but also losses against the Falcons and Chargers. The Chiefs will remain the same, and they'll finish 12-4. As for the Lions, they'll pick up a win versus the Titans and lose to the Vikings twice. They'll finish the year 8-8. Colin Kaepernick, with much less miles on him at this point, as he's been starting for less time, leads the Niners to 3 extra wins against the Cowboys, Cardinals, and Jets. The Niners finish the year 5-11. Kaepernick's situation is very unique and almost similar to the situation of Deshaun Watson in Houston in 2020. He is still at the point in his career where he's playing pretty well, but the rest of the team is just extremely bad. His talent is also enough to keep him around the league for a while, despite his kneeling situation. The NFC playoffs has the Falcons at the 1 seed, the Vikings at the 2 seed, Giants at 3, Seahawks 4, Cowboys 5, and Packers 6. In the wildcard round, the Packers still beat the Giants, and the boat trip still exists. Dak and the Cowboys beat the Seahawks. In the divisional round, the Falcons will beat the Packers, and the Vikings will beat the Cowboys. In the conference round, Derek Carr and crew take the Vikings back to the Super Bowl for the first time since 1977, as they beat the Falcons. In real life, Derek Carr balled out this year, but now has better weapons in Minnesota. Also, it's important to note he doesn't get injured. Moving on to the AFC. The Patriots will be the 1 seed, and the Chiefs will be the 2 seed. They'll have the byes. The Steelers will sit at the 3 seed, and the Texans at 4. For the wildcard teams, that'll be the Broncos with the 5 seed and the Dolphins with the 6 seed. Alex Smith and the Broncos beat the Texans, and the Killer Bees and the Steelers beat the Dolphins. In the divisional round, the Steelers beat the Chiefs and the Patriots beat the Broncos. In the conference championship, the Patriots will beat the Steelers. Moving into the Super Bowl, the Vikings beat the Patriots. The Vikings still go up early like the Falcons, except they have the defense and the coaching to hold on to this lead, and there's no 28-3 and no crazy Edelman catch. In the 2017 draft, there are much less changes at the top. The changes that do still exist are the Rams get Solomon Thomas at 4, the Titans with Marshawn Lattimore at 6, as they don't need a receiver with Amari Cooper, so that means the Niners get Corey Davis at 7. Marlon Humphrey will now go to the Bills, Adoree Jackson will go to the Ravens, and Tre'Davious White will go to the Saints. The Titans, after trading up with the Chiefs, will select Ryan Ramchick. The only quarterback that switches places of the first 3 rounds is the Chiefs don't take Mahomes, as Bridgewater is young and successful, and somehow the Browns don't screw it up and they luck into Patrick Mahomes. For the 2017-2018 season, the Alex Smith-led Broncos won 4 more games than they did in real life, beating the Bills, Giants, Bengals, and Chiefs to go 9-7. The Chiefs lose to the Patriots, Texans, and Broncos, but beat the Raiders, and they'll go 8-8. The Chargers lose to the Mahomes-led Browns, and they'll go 8-8. The Raiders, side note here, Marshawn Lynch no longer comes out of retirement, as he would not want to play for a team that's just not supposed to be competitive. They'll lose to the Chiefs, and they're going to finish the year 5-11. Mahomes wills the Broncos to 4 more wins as they avoid 0-16. They're going to beat the Chargers, Steelers, Packers, and Jets, and they'll finish the year 4-12 instead. The Titans, with the additions of Jared Goff, Amari Cooper, Ryan Ramczyk, Marshawn Lattimore, win 3 more games than in real life and beat the Dolphins, Cardinals, and Niners to finish the year 12-4. The Niners, with some faith still in Kaepernick, don't trade for Jimmy G. They beat the Rams and beat the Colts, but lose to the Bears. After this game, Kaepernick will be benched. They'll lose to the Jaguars and Titans as well, and they're going to end the year 5-11. The Rams realize Paxton Lynch isn't the answer, and they're the only ones who come calling for Jimmy G. They'll lose to the Niners the first time, and the Cowboys before Paxton Lynch is benched after the Seattle game. After next week's game, this is when the team trades for Garoppolo. Garoppolo starts after the bye and wins an extra Week 17 game against the Niners to make the playoffs at 10-6. The Vikings are going to beat the Lions, and they're going to go 14-2. The Bills will lose to the Broncos, but beat Carolina and remain 9-7. As for the Panthers, they're going to lose to the Bills, and they'll go 10-6. The playoffs will look a little something like this, with the Patriots at the 1 seed, Steelers as the 2 seed, now the Titans at the 3 seed, and the Broncos at the 4 seed. The Jags and the Bills will be the 2 wildcard teams, 5 and 6 respectively. In the NFC, the Vikings will be the 1 seed, and the Eagles the 2 seed, changing in real life. The Saints will be the 3 seed, Rams at 4, Falcons at 5, and Panthers at 6. In the wildcard round, the Titans beat the Bills, Broncos beat the Jaguars team, still searching for their leader on defense without Jalen Ramsey. And the Saints will still beat the Panthers, and the Falcons will still beat the Rams. The Broncos shocked the Patriots. The Broncos have the Patriots number in January, and there's a certain magic to this Broncos team that the Pats just cannot stop. The Steelers beat an injured, DeMarco Murray-less Titans team. The Vikings beat the Falcons, and the Eagles beat the Saints. No Minneapolis Miracle in the divisional round, but the conference championship remains the same. The Vikings are now playing at home and win with Derek Carr, who is far better than Case Keenum. They will become the first team to host a Super Bowl. In the AFC, the Killer Bees finally get to the Super Bowl, and the Steelers stop the Broncos' magical run. The Vikings are just a more complete team than the Steelers, with an electric offense and a scary defense. They win 2 Lombardis back-to-back after handling the Steelers pretty well in a great game. Home field advantage in Minnesota is just too much for Pittsburgh to overcome. Derek Carr now becomes a legend, winning back-to-back Super Bowls. And now we're going to stop the video here, because we don't want to make this too long, and this is a reasonable cutoff point. This would likely be Colin Kaepernick's last year in the NFL, as he would be an unwanted free agent in our timeline, just 1 year later. Although this was not the craziest timeline or anything, a lot has the potential to change. The Falcons winning the 2012 Super Bowl, followed by the Alex Smith 49ers winning it the next year, is a fascinating turn. The Seahawks and Eagles are still sitting with no rings, and Derek Carr led the Vikings to establish themselves as a football dynasty with back-to-back championships. While all this is certainly interesting, the makeup of the league is extremely different. The Browns have Mahomes, the Chiefs have Teddy B, the Titans have Goff, and the Rams are looking to escape their endless cycle of mediocrity with Garoppolo. The Broncos have Alex Smith, and the Raiders have Winston, and the Bucs have Mariota. The Titans also hit on skill players like Amari Cooper and Marshawn Lattimore, certifying them as contenders for years to come. But they also lost out on Derrick Henry, who took Melvin Gordon's place with the Chargers, as Melvin Gordon was in Baltimore. Star players like Marlon Humphrey, Joey Bosa, Jalen Ramsey, and Tre'Davious White are all in different places as well. It is truly amazing how just a simple concussion can go a long way in affecting events. Oh, and a strong imagination, of course. If this video does very well and there's demand for it, we'll certainly look into doing a part 2 for 2018 through 2020. These videos are incredibly time consuming and difficult to make, so your support for these is absolutely appreciated. Remember to like, share, subscribe, and comment down below what you want to see in future videos. Also follow us on Twitter, link to that will be in the description. Thank you for watching, we'll see you next time. Peace.